For weeks, I thought I was the problem. I replayed every meeting in my head, every Slack message, every tone of voice. Then I found out the truth, and it wasn't that I was failing. It was that I was being managed out in plain sight, for a reason that had nothing to do with my work. It started so small I didn't even trust myself to name it. I work on a corporate product team, the kind of place where your calendar is your real boss and your value is measured in visibility. There are weekly stand-ups, bi-weekly check-ins, quick syncs that multiply like bacteria, and endless decks that exist mostly to prove you're busy. I was doing fine. Not superstar status, but solid. My metrics were good. My manager's feedback was steady. I wasn't on a performance plan. I wasn't behind. So when the first weird thing happened, I assumed it was an innocent scheduling error. We had a recurring Tuesday roadmap meeting. Same time every week, same invite, same dozen people. One Tuesday, I walked into the conference room at 9:58, and it was empty. Not late, empty. I checked my calendar. The meeting was still on my schedule. Then my phone buzzed with a Slack message from a coworker. "You joining?" "Where is everyone?" I typed back. "In 4B, they replied. "We moved it." No one had told me. I opened the invite. No location change. No update. Just my original invite sitting there like a dead link. I laughed it off and walked to 4B, telling myself it was a glitch, maybe a last-minute room change, and I missed the note. When I walked in, the conversation didn't pause. Nobody looked guilty. They glanced at me like I was late, not excluded. "Oh, hey," my teammate Rachel said, eyes back on her laptop immediately. "We started." "No, sorry. No, we moved it. Just started." I sat down, smiling like it didn't matter, while my stomach did that slow, tight thing it does when something feels wrong but you don't have proof. The second subtle thing happened later that week. I went to open a shared document for a project I owned, our Q3 launch plan. It was a Google Doc I'd created, my outline, my timelines, my dependencies. The link opened to a permission screen, request access. I stared at it like it was a joke. I refreshed, same. I clicked request access and felt my face get hot, because asking permission to view your own work is a special kind of humiliating. 10 minutes later, I got an email, access granted. No explanation, just granted. I told myself it was accidental, a settings mistake, a drive migration, anything normal. But normal doesn't remove the creator. Normal doesn't lock you out of your own plan. Over the next 2 weeks, the exclusions multiplied. A meeting that used to include me would suddenly have an updated attendee list, my name missing. A Slack thread would keep moving while my messages sat there unread. Not ignored like people were busy. Ignored like my input didn't exist. Someone would say, "We talked about this already," and I'd realize they meant a conversation I wasn't part of. Inside jokes started appearing, phrases I didn't understand, references to situations I hadn't witnessed. People laughed, then looked at me like I'd walked into the middle of a movie. If I spoke in meetings, the room would go quiet, not hostile, just empty. Like my words didn't land, like I'd become audio they could mute. I started doing post-meeting reconstructions in my head. Was my tone off? Did I push too hard last quarter? Did I annoy someone? Did I come across arrogant without realizing it? The spiral is sneaky because it sounds like professionalism. Maybe I'm missing context. Maybe I need to be more collaborative. Maybe I should listen more. At night, I'd check my sent messages and read them like evidence. I'd open my performance notes and search for hidden warnings. I'd stare at my calendar like it could tell me what I'd done wrong. I even asked my manager, Tom, in a one-on-one. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual, "am I missing something? I feel a little out of the loop lately." Tom blinked like he hadn't noticed anything. "No, you're good. Why?" "I don't know," I said. "Some meetings moved. Some docs, weird permissions." He shrugged. "Probably just busy season. Don't overthink it." Don't overthink it. The corporate equivalent of stop making it weird. The inciting incident happened on a Thursday, and it wasn't subtle. I'd been leading a feature proposal for months, research, stakeholder interviews, a full deck. I was scheduled to present it to leadership during our Friday product review. It was a big moment, the kind that gets you visibility and sets you up for the next promotion cycle. At 3:04 p.m., I got an email from Tom with a subject line that made my stomach drop. Updated presenter for Friday. "Hey," Tom wrote. "We're going to have Rachel present the feature proposal tomorrow. Just want to streamline the narrative for leadership. You can support in the meeting and answer questions if needed. Streamline the narrative. Rachel. Presenting my work. The work I'd been locked out of. The meetings I'd been missing. I checked the calendar invite. My name was still on it, but now I was listed as optional. Optional. I walked to Tom's office, then stopped outside the door. I could hear voices inside, Tom and Rachel. Soft laughter. The kind of laughter that happens when decisions have already been made. My hand hovered over the door handle. I wanted to burst in, demand an explanation. Ask if I'd done something wrong. Ask why my work was being taken. Instead, I let my hand drop. Because I realized something in that moment. If I confronted emotionally, I'd look unstable. If I accused without proof, I'd become the problem they'd been implying I was. So I walked back to my desk, sat down, and opened a blank spreadsheet. I titled it Exclusion Log. Then I started listing dates, meetings, documents, and who was involved. Once I started logging it, the anxiety changed shape. It stopped being vague fog and became something sharper, a pattern I could point to. That didn't make it less painful, but it made it real, and real problems can be solved. I didn't go full conspiracy mode. I didn't hack anyone's Slack. I did what any competent employee does when the ground starts shifting. I audited my own work life. I pulled my calendar history and compared it to meeting notes I could access. I searched my inbox for roadmap, review, sync, leadership. I opened the feature proposal deck and checked version history. That's when I saw something that made my stomach drop again. My name wasn't just missing from the presentation invite. My name was missing from the deck edits too. Not because I hadn't contributed, because my access had been changed on certain days and edits had been made while I was locked out, like someone wanted a clean ownership trail. I clicked activity and scrolled. Rachel added comments at 11:13 a.m. Tom resolved them at 11:27. Another teammate rewrote sections at noon. My edit history had gaps that matched the days I'd hit request access. It wasn't accidental, it was timed. I did quiet one-to-one-s, not formal complaints, not emotional venting. Just, hey, can we sync for 10 minutes? The way corporate culture allows you to ask anything without admitting you're bleeding. I asked Rachel first. Hey, I said, friendly, I saw you're presenting the feature tomorrow. Can you walk me through what changed so I can support if leadership asks? She smiled like I'd complimented her. Oh, nothing huge. Tom just thought it would land better coming from me. Why? I asked, still calm. She shrugged, narrative. I asked about the moved meeting. I thought you knew, she said. We moved it because leadership needed the other room. No one updated the invite, I said. She gave me a look like she was bored. Yeah, sorry, things happen. Then I asked a neutral teammate, Vic, about the permissions. He frowned. You had to request access? That's weird. You're the owner. He clicked around on his screen while we were on a call. Huh, he said quietly. It says ownership is Rachel. My stomach sank. After we hung up, I stared at the wall for a full minute, letting the anger wash through me without acting on it. Ownership transfer wasn't a calendar mistake. It wasn't busy season, it was a decision. Midpoint came from someone outside the drama. I ran into Maya from a different team in the hallway. We'd worked together once. She was competent and blunt. Hey, she said, you okay? You've been quiet in meetings. I hesitated, then said, honestly, I feel like I'm being iced out. Maya's eyes flicked around, then back to me. Yeah, she said quietly. I've heard stuff. My chest tightened. What stuff? She exhaled like she hated being involved. People think you're trying to look better than them. Like you're positioning yourself for a promo and making the team look slow. I felt heat rise in my face. What? I've been doing the work. I know, she said. That's the point. Leadership likes you, and that makes certain people twitchy. Relief hit first. Pure, bitter relief. I wasn't crazy. Then anger. Because my reputation was being shaped without me, like a file somebody was editing. I tested a hypothesis that afternoon. If the team was coordinating, information would move through a specific channel, and my inclusion would be selective. I sent a simple email to Tom and Rachel with a small, harmless update about a stakeholder concern, one that wasn't real. A fake detail that sounded plausible. Legal flagged a potential compliance question. We may need a follow-up. Then I waited. Within an hour, Vic pinged me on Slack. Hey, did legal really flag compliance? Rachel said we might need to adjust the deck. Rachel said. Not Tom. Not leadership. Rachel. The information traveled fast, and it traveled through her. Exactly what I needed to know. Then, at 6:07 p.m., the hard evidence arrived in my inbox like an accident. An email forward from Tom titled RE, Visibility. It wasn't meant for me, I could tell because the first line was an internal note. Looping you in by mistake, please ignore. But it was too late. I'd already seen enough. Keep him off the leadership-facing meetings for now. He's getting too much shine. It's creating friction. My chest went hollow. Not a misunderstanding, not a vibe, not an accident. A plan. I didn't rage reply. I didn't forward it to the whole team. I did what corporate life respects and fears at the same time. I turned feelings into documentation. That night, I added the email snippet to my exclusion log and wrote a one-page summary with 3 sections. Facts, impact, ask. Facts, meetings moved without invite updates, recurring removals from leadership-facing meetings, document ownership changes, access removals, reassigned presentation, email proof of intentional exclusion. Impact, reduced ability to execute, reputational harm, risk to deliverables, unclear accountability, misalignment with performance expectations. Ask, clarify role scope, restore access, stop unilateral reassignment, and reset communication norms. No adjectives, no toxic, no speculation about jealousy, just reality and bullet points. The next morning, I requested a meeting with Tom and HR. I didn't label it a complaint. I labeled it role alignment and project governance. At 1:58 p.m., I joined the Zoom early. HR, Lena, was already there, camera on, professional face. Tom joined at 2:01, smiling like it was a normal check-in. "Hey," he said, "what's up?" "I want to address role alignment and process integrity," I said. "I've been excluded from meetings and documents that are within my scope, and it's impacting execution." Tom's eyebrows rose slightly, surprise on cue. "Excluded?" he said. "That sounds dramatic." I nodded. "I'm going to walk through facts and dates." I shared my screen and showed 3 examples, clean and undeniable. The moved roadmap meeting with Slack confirmation, the permission removals with timestamps, and the reassigned leadership presentation with the optional status. Tom started to speak, but I continued. Then I showed the forwarded email snippet. "I received this by mistake," I said, calm. "It indicates intent." I read it out loud. "Keep him off the leadership-facing meetings for now. He's getting too much shine. It's creating friction." The room changed temperature. Tom tried to call it informal language. Lena asked what it meant in a performance context. Tom shifted from denial to minimization to vague stakeholder talk. But the outcomes were clear. "Can you send me the exact language you want used going forward for role boundaries and meeting inclusion?" I asked. "In writing." That question mattered. It forces accountability without sounding petty. Rachel got pulled into a follow-up meeting. She acted confused, claimed she didn't know how to change permissions, then froze when I asked why she ended up as the ownership recipient. Within a week, my access was restored across documents, meeting invites were corrected, and Tom suddenly became big on transparency. Rachel started CCing me on everything, overly polite, like compliance had replaced culture. No one apologized. Teams rarely do. But behavior changed, which is what I needed. The resolution wasn't cinematic, it was corporate. Tom reassigned official ownership of the feature proposal back to me in our tracking tool, with an email to stakeholders stating I was the single accountable owner. HR facilitated a, quote, process reset meeting about meeting hygiene and document governance. And Tom stopped having Rachel run point on my projects. 2 months later, I transferred to a parallel team under a different manager, in a role with clearer scope and more direct leadership exposure. It wasn't running away. It was choosing a healthier structure. The aftertaste was the real lesson. Workplace politics don't require villains. They require incentives, insecurity, and silence. I didn't win because I was liked. I reclaimed my agency because I was documented. Here's what I took from it. Visibility is currency. If you don't manage it, someone else will manage it for you. Documentation isn't paranoia at work. It's insurance when stories start drifting. Credit theft rarely looks like theft. It looks like streamlining, narrative, and stakeholder management. Neutral allies matter. One person outside the drama can validate reality and keep you grounded. Escalation works best when it's framed as governance, not grievance. Facts, impact, ask. Was I wrong to escalate to HR instead of trying to work it out socially with the team? And if you want more workplace stories like this, real dynamics, real receipts, and endings that don't rely on revenge, subscribe for the next one.